Floods, the major hazard in South Canterbury, are well known to be the consequences of inadequate soil and water conservation in the hills and uncontrolled rivers on the plains. This flood occurred in April 1951. It caused damage in built-up areas, swept away bridges, crops and pasture. The South Canterbury Catchment Board has a great deal to do with limited funds and manpower, and so more floods can be expected before long-term projects can provide adequate protection. In dealing with its many problems, the Catchment Board uses the most efficient equipment available. Typical of this is the board's ditch cleaner. Designed by their own engineers, it's capable of scooping the district's 200 miles of drains at the rate of half a mile per hour. It's unfortunate that choked riverbeds cannot be cleared as easily. Compared with watercress, willows are a tough proposition. On the wide bed of the Opihi, adoption of the power saw speeds up work considerably. Poisoning the stump ensures its complete destruction. Further upstream, a giant dozer, using prongs instead of a blade, literally tears out scrub by the roots, leaving a clean sweep behind it. On the Ashburton River, another method of mass destruction is in use, the hormone spray. Its wide, daily lethal coverage is clearing the bed to give space for floodwaters. Straightening a river suits both river and engineers. Immediately behind the dozer, the Waihi starts on a new course. A straight course scours during floods, making room for even more water. At the end of the thrust, a dangerous course is sealed off. Another dangerous bend, near the town on the Temuka River this time, will disappear as the waters take to a new pilot channel, and scouring it out completes the job begun by the engineers. The same principle is used to cut through shingle deposits beneath bridges, as on the Orari, for example. The proverbial dray load of hay passed beneath this bridge not so long ago. At a danger point on the Rangitata, poplar logs have diverted the river from eroding banks. Silt and shingle building up against the logs have pushed the river well away, leaving a large area of dry shingle. Today's bank protection methods will deal with all predictable conditions. Here, logs known as dead men are buried in the earth well back from the bank. Around them are heavy cables which hold uprooted willow trees closely against the bank. Long before the dead men and cables have rotted and rusted away, the willows will have rooted and become living guardians of the fertile riverside land. Another method, no less efficient, uses lighter willows laid closely side by side upon a sloping bank. They are tied down with heavy cables to steel piles driven well below the level of the riverbed. Twitching with fencing wire completes the job. These banks will endure and grow stronger as water laps gently where swift currents would have swept good land away. Properly surveyed lines are essential for stop banks, and stop banks are the only way to confine several hundred square miles of runoff to one narrow channel. These banks will protect farmland, which lost many valuable acres of pasture and crops in one night during the flood shown. Adequate stop banks and sealing off overflow channels with willow trees and shingle will keep all normal floods within bounds. Major works fit a long-range plan designed to give the maximum protection to all sections of the community for both present and future. To assure final control of the rivers, the board supervises the hill country management. Landholders of earlier days burnt off the tussock to make way for pasture. Quick runoff and soil erosion resulted, and scars are still common sights on the ranges of the backcountry. Regeneration is now the order of the day, and burning off is restricted by Catchment Board bylaws. Plans are prepared for burning slopes lying away from the sun and left untouched by stock which preferred to graze where it was warm. Fresh, palatable grass will replace rank growth, and fencing will control grazing. In the backcountry, rabbits have reduced pasture to bare soil. The soil is sweet and grass grows well when given the chance. Tearing up warrens and gassing is the vigorous policy of the Rabbit Board. The downlands of South Canterbury are highly fertile areas. Maintaining fertility and increasing production, however, will depend primarily upon moisture and soil conservation. Normally, ploughing this way would greatly accelerate sheet erosion. Heavy downpours can play havoc with a ploughed slope. Contour terracing is the solution, and with facts, figures and advice available from soil conservators, this manner of holding both the land and the runoff is certain to be accepted by farmers. The whirlwind terracer is a most recent development for speedy terrace making. Holding the rainfall on slopes where runoff is fast is a big factor in keeping up pasture and increasing production. Large areas can be covered rapidly, and large areas conserving their maximum rainfall mean more feed on the hills and less water in the rivers. No gullies on grassy slopes is another demand in pasture conservation. Simple cuts frequently develop into deep gullies. Dozing in the sides is the first step in the preparation of a strip for a grassed waterway, this being recognized as the best form of control. A temporary bank diverts the water until the grass is well established and capable of carrying the runoff, which will spread as it flows. These small channels connect the terraced slopes with a grassed waterway. Moisture and soil conservation and excess runoff here are well under control. Prosperity in the years ahead will depend primarily upon the complementary techniques of rivers control and soil conservation being widely adopted now. The future will demand more from our land. The South Canterbury Catchment Board aims at preventing any section of its territory from being washed away by the very moisture which, under management, would bring growth to the pastures and security for all.